And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
In answer to his question about the subjects.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? They are hopeless and hungry.
Now it's time for us to stand up for God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public would say.
And good afternoon, Radio Cayman Nation, and a very happy Wednesday to you. Thank you for tuning into your station of the nation, Radio Cayman. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Day 3 is already here, and 2024 is off to the races. No delay. Today we'll be sitting down with the Anti-Doping Commission, and then later trying to solve some of the world's problems with Mr. Matt Brown. As always, we do welcome your stories, feedback, and questions, and invite you to join the conversation. Simply dial 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Back with more talk today after this very brief disclaimer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And it's amazing, but we're already on day 3. And the sad part is that in a very short span of time, we're going to be talking about day 365 because the years are flying by. Very pleased to have in studio Mr. James Miles and Mr. Carl Brown here to talk about the CIOC Anti-Doping Commission. Yes. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you and to everybody out there listening.
Happy New Year to
and
our
watching.
audience. And welcoming this brand new baby of a new year.
It's brand new. It's here already. So,
yes.
So before we get into like the meat of the show, I mean, any New Year's resolutions for you gentlemen? Personal, like family-wise, personal-wise, fitness-wise, health-wise?
You just keep improving.
Keep improving.
That's always been it.
All right, so then the hard question, because I make the same goals myself here. I'm not going to make a resolution, but I want to build on whatever successes and minimize whatever losses that I had last.
Yep.
What were your wins last year that you're going to try to keep building on then?
Well, mine was to be closer connected to God.
It's very solid.
It is something that all Christians do, should be striving to do.
Yep.
And tried not to be negative. And
that's a good one.
And because, life has its way of throwing
sucking
curveballs
you in, right? Like the mafia. It just sucks you into that.
So sometimes it's difficult to remain positive. And even for a very positive person that I usually are, it was a struggle at times.
How do you deal with like those disappointments or whatever, those setbacks? Do you just have a breathing routine? Is it a go and punch a bag?
I just go and pray.
Oh, okay.
And that's my way of getting over it and say, Lord, I need you to take this load off of me. Whatever it is. The issue is, I know you're doing it for my benefit, either to make me tougher, to make me smarter, to make me brighter. So that's the positive outlook that I have.
Good for you, John.
For any challenges that I face.
I think if everybody took that exact same approach, I think there's a lot less toxicity and
in no violence,
families and
no violence either, because a lot of people lash out when they come across
the
issues.
React, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. B? What do you got going on this year?
My list is simple and silent, so the world doesn't know, but I know.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
But it's encapsulated in a term that I repeat each year. The rest of it has to be the best of it. So I'm going to make it.
All right, fair enough. So you got 362 days left to make it. I like it. Yeah. It's a good start, right? I mean, you know those little, I use an agenda, one of those books for all my work, and it's got a little countdown at the top. It goes day 1 of 365, etc. Right? And it's amazing how quickly those numbers start counting up to 1 to 20 to all of a sudden you're like 360 of 365. You're like, wait a second, did I get anything done this year? Did I accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish? Did I have more hair than I started the year with?
I know mine is a countdown.
Yeah, that's your countdown. Maybe Dwayne should be hosting the show with you guys.
And my report is a loss report.
That's a loss report. All right, now that we're all warmed up, walk us through. We got Anti-Doping Commission. It's an Olympic year.
So I'd like to introduce Jamo, who needs no introduction, but truly needs to be reintroduced for this new year. It is a privilege to have James Miles as part of our community, who has always done everything he can while he can, exerting every moment, every effort to improve the lives, especially of young people in this community, and that should never be underestimated. He goes beyond his remit in whatever job he has, and goes beyond the limits set for him to enable our community to be more successful. Wears many hats. That's why the spot is getting a little bald, because the hats keep changing. And one of his hats,
it's success.
One of his hats is
that's a very I agree
sport under our Olympic Committee. There's a commission called the Anti-Doping Commission, which is a quiet but necessary part of the function of any growing community that is involved in international sport. So he heads our commission, and he supervises the anti-doping officers such as myself.
Sure.
And his role is to connect with WADA through our regional anti-doping agency, and to make sure that we are compliant, because as we grow in this sporting world, we have to wear the braces that come along with that growth. Yeah. So with our successes as athletes in this country and who represent this country, there are requirements, and anti-doping is an important part of making sure that we comply and we can participate. Without compliance, we can't participate.
Yeah. And if I can tag on to that really quickly, and it's a side note to Jamo as well. Very few in Cayman will know this. Jamo will. 17 years ago, when I first came to Cayman, I had been on island maybe 3 or 4 days when my job was to actually start youth sports programs at King Sports Center, and I reached out to the youth department within government, the youth services unit, and it was Jamo who reached back out within a short while. My first week came out of his way on a Friday night, took me on a tour of the districts, including Boddentown, and we drove through some of the smaller areas of Boddentown. And that was 17 years ago. That's a true story. And since then, we've stayed connected from the youth side, from now radio side. And so, I agree with you.
You made full circle back to sport.
I made full circle. I'm back into sports.
And back to James.
The real full circle. That's a true story. And that was actually him coming out of his own way and to show me around, to show me some of the areas that needed more services and more programs. And
so his role is to lead our country and to keep our CIOC in compliance with the objectives of WADA. And it is reporting, it is conducting exercises which are intrusive to athletes both here and abroad, to keep them clean, because the objective of WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, is to make sure that sport is true. When that person stands at the medal counter and on the podium, they have earned it in all true respects, and they did not take any shortcuts to it. Now, that means that he has to be a continuous student, and the rest of us also have to follow his lead, and we have to be continually updated as to what's new in the world of those who want to take a shortcut to the podium. taking a shortcut to the podium is a shortcut to a lot of wealth. So people who use dope to get across to that podium to get gold, they're motivated by not only prominence and notoriety, but money.
Of course,
and that's why our role is very critical.
Yeah. It's an important role. So, example, before we actually go to our break, walk us through your personal background within the CIOC Anti-Doping Commission, how you got started into it.
Okay. Well, first, I was an athlete, and I didn't look like it now, but but I used to be a high-performing athlete for the Cayman Islands, and I think that was the main ethos for me getting involved.
And that is volleyball. That is
basketball, cricket, and football.
You played volleyball, basketball,
cricket and football.
Yeah,
interesting. How long ago was that?
When I was young.
When you were back in the young days.
Back in the days. But I wanted public to thank Bernie Bush for involving me in sports. He saw talent that I was somewhat gifted in certain areas, but he found a way of expanding my scope in sports, and when anti-doping came around, my name was called to become a doping control officer. So I went and I got training, and I liked it because I saw where the spirit of true sports is about being fair. It is not good for our Caymanian athletes who are constantly clean. We have never had an anti-doping violation, to compete against people around the world who's cheating and winning.
Sure.
And we've had that occasion.
And recently,
of course,
we've seen cases where everybody's playing through, and we actually got our first world champion in swimming.
Yes.
And so you can see that Cayman's talent can compete with the world if the world is competing fairly.
Yes.
So we don't have motorcycles in a bicycle race.
Well, that's the premise, right? And it's that parity amongst athletes. Tell you what, let's take a quick first break. We come back. I want to dive a bit more into that parity part before we get into the compliance issues. Back more talk today, right after this.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Listening to the general public.
The Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Because
there are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman. Waiting to take your calls right now.
What the public is saying.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. I'm pleased to have in studio from the Anti-Doping Commission, Mr. James Miles and Mr. Carl Brown, here talking about, giving us an Olympic year, talking about the anti-doping or the culture of anti-doping and the growth and education of this element of the sport of sports. So during the break, actually, we were talking about the parity and legal ramifications of this. And you mentioned education just now. Just jump right into that education part for us.
Well, education is the way you can't really penalize people for things they don't know.
Sure.
Or, well, according to the lawyers, ignorance isn't an excuse, right?
It's not an excuse.
But it's really tough to come down on people that don't know that they're doing wrong.
Sure. But this is what the evolution of like prohibited substances in sports differs from sport to sport. The Olympic Committee has their regulations, which tend to be more robust.
Well, there's an international code.
Yeah, this is an international code.
A prohibited list is actually just came out this week for this year, and it's changed every single year. There's more drugs on it that should be.
Yeah, which is why the constant education is necessary.
Right.
More drugs and processes.
Yeah.
When you say processes, what do you mean?
For example,
some people blood dope.
Some people blood dope.
Sure.
Some people blood dope.
Sure.
And essentially it is. Blood is a transporter of oxygen, and the degree of oxygen that is transported enables performance to either be heightened, accelerated, or diminished. And there are methods now being utilized and applied to increase oxygen levels to enable a person, an individual, to enhance their performance at that particular time. And it is
just the blood, that's the actual doping element.
So they will infuse blood.
Don't they withdraw the blood first, then they perform, then they reintroduce the blood back to their system after the body adapted?
They'll reintroduce it before the performance.
Exactly, before the performance,
So they have more blood to carry more oxygen.
Right. Back in the 80s.
They can climb mountains better on bikes.
Yeah, of course. Because the body has a higher degree.
As of this week, there is an incident. There is not incident, but there's a process now being involved where there is blood from worms that enhance the movement of oxygen.
That's nice.
So these are small things that have a large impact on performance.
It's amazing how the level of career some athletes will go to. Like when you talk about I remember reading stories back in the 90s of, and I won't call any countries, but certain gymnasts who were becoming impregnated for training purposes because their body would retain more nutrients and certain elements than the boarding and then going into competition.
Yeah.
I mean, you sort of think about the level of like
the thought process.
And these are coaches that are involved in this. These are trainers. These are officials, doctors.
And this
collaborating for the.
But this is why there's a lot of legal ramifications because you then can't tell people that they can't have the right to family.
Yeah, like there's a lot.
So there's a lot of complexity.
Yeah, huge, especially in the legal elements. You start talking about, like you mentioned earlier, like a first time imprisonment for
somebody was
for doping, and that. In my head, I can't wrap my head around it. Right, about why we would imprison someone for doping for an athletic event.
Mm.
But if that's
the ramifications are so tremendously, the returns are so remarkably important. There are contingent liabilities around somebody doping and getting away with it, and that includes. So I took substance, I won. It affects the sponsorship. It affects the outcome for somebody who was clean, and it affects the quality of the sport in its ability to reappear next year or next 2 years to do its job and attract the right athletes. Sure. So there are huge consequences.
It's equivalent of stealing, right?
Yes, it is stealing
from someone else at that point, and
so this is our function within our community to be compliant with continuously emerging world regulations that keep sport clean.
An awkward side question. Is there, because I've read about the politics of sports in this arena when it comes to doping, and do you find much politics between the nations when it comes to, like, you mentioned the arbitration and appeals and all the process they go through? Is there a certain degree of politics that play into this arena?
All you have to do is go to history. There is.
Yeah.
There are some countries that have been banned. And
very recently.
Russia has been challenged over and over because
they're one of the, which will leave the question, like, is there some, I'm not trying to call it conspiracy theory, but when I look at one country that's tremendous on so many athletic fronts, and they are, but they match up with the U.S., they match up with all the big nations, China in there as well. My question always is there some other politics behind this that always kind of has them at the center of the forefront of this?
Sport is another marker of perceived progress.
Huge.
And it is a marker of dominance and success.
Yeah, absolutely.
And an indication of prowess. And as such, it is going to be an area for exploitation.
Yeah.
The East Germans were absolutely notorious for making sure that they won everything they were involved in. And it was part of regime propping up of the communist regime of Honecker in East Germany. And we are glad that anti-doping had come to the forefront and came to its time for its place to clean up the acts and to make sure that athletes who trained from other places who did not have the financial privileges who did their best and would have been on top of the world anyhow. When they stood at that podium, they were truly champions, not pumped up champions.
No, and I appreciate that. But, you know, it's one of those scenarios as well, and it's kind of a deviation of the story. I remember reading an article about when Michael Phelps was dominating in swimming, and there was certain studies done on his body, and it was found that his body naturally produced some, and I can forget if it was what the chemical was, but it reduced his ability to produce lactic acid. So because of that, his body was able to produce that much, was able to compete that much harder.
Without burning.
And then I read about, so that was permitted. And then I read about a story about on the women's side, because testosterone boosting, her body naturally produced more testosterone on a natural basis, and she was precluded from competing because it had met the threshold, it had passed the threshold. Exceeded the threshold. And it's like, where, like, that's where, like, the next stage of politics is, who sets that bar? And that's who actually sets these bars for these measures of what drugs are allowed? Is marijuana allowed as a training? Is some form of whatever it might be? Who is it across the board that sets these?
How they've combated that is by implementing an athlete's biological profile, passport. And that passport measures the athlete from the time they enter the registered testing pool. From the time you're at the level to be tested.
Interesting.
They'll take blood samples from you.
So if I compete today, I had a precursor test done 3 years ago.
So they can see if you got more oxygen carrying blood in you than usual. They can see if you have.
Interesting.
And so they map it against your own.
I never
passport.
That. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the only
it's your physiological footprint.
Right. So because say like if Semenya was had her athlete biological profile when she just became an elite athlete.
Sure.
They would have seen that she had higher than normal testosterone levels from then. So if throughout they're at the same level, then she's not doing anything. She's not injecting testosterone to increase it. So
and this is for across the board for all.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and who holds these biological profiles? Is that your own Olympic Committee in house, or is that something that's held by WADA?
No, but our anti-doping commission is supported heavily by the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping Organization.
Is that WADA? So that was mentioned
earlier? They're
that's
part
of
of
RADO, which is
regional
a part
anti-doping.
of WADA.
I see. Okay, so RADO is who we actually sit under.
Right.
Okay.
Because we are very small country and very small.
Of course.
Elite sporting fraternity as well. It's very small.
And is RADO covering the whole Caribbean?
Most of them.
Okay.
Big countries like Cuba and Jamaica have their own. But for the most part, all the member states in the Caribbean is under the Caribbean RADO.
Okay.
Right.
And they they keep all our passports for athletes. And because there's also an international standard for information and privacy.
Sure. Which is important,
yeah. It's best to let the information be held as close to water as possible.
Sure.
So our athletes are held at the Caribbean RADO, and that is shared with the World Antidote.
Interesting. I had no. So at the Olympics, every one of those athletes has a bio profile kept within.
Almost all Olympic athletes.
All.
If you just qualifying for the Olympics,
I see.
You might not.
That would be your starting
But
profile.
it is now they're making it mandatory.
The eligibility.
I see. Okay, so you wouldn't have a profile on file.
But most of them have, even with the Cayman Islands Olympic Committee, those who are Olympic hopefuls and are on Olympic Solidarity funding to become Olympians, they all automatically become part of the registered testing pool, and their athlete biological passport is developed
from that point.
And some of them are as young as when they go to Carifta.
So 13, 14.
Yes.
Yeah. Lower 14, 15.
If they're on track for the Olympics. Yeah. So Devontae Howell and those.
Sure.
Yeah,
so they would have had their profiles done 2-3 years ago when they were starting into the process, not at 19.
Right, because it might be too
late. Well, still by 19.
It might be too late for them to get a snapshot of them.
Yeah.
Because the snapshot could be, they're already doing stuff.
Yeah. What about like gymnastics, where you have such a young, like gymnastics, you tend to peak around 15, 16. You find the peak athletes coming out. Are you talking about those profiles that develop from 12 and 13?
Mm-hmm. Yes. When they're from the time they're part of a registered testing pool.
Wow, that's pretty young. I never realized that was.
With those minors like that, they would have special conditions so that they have to be tested with a parent present and stuff.
Of course, I had no idea.
But from the time you're an elite performer.
And
they try to get the information.
The WADA is now it's an inclusive requirement. That means sports like football, who took a while to come to that area. They took a while.
Actually, if you can hold on for 1 second, I'm going to quick break, but I actually want to touch on that because that covers different sports, not just Olympic-driven sports. Max, more talk today right after this.
Rotarians, yes, you Rotarians, we, Cayman District Conference 7020, are busy weaving a welcome mat just for you. We're busy crafting an amazing Rotary experience like none other. From that moment you hover, the moment you touch down, your seatbelt releases, the Rotary Cayman inundation begins. The flavors, the feel, the historic places, the memorable sights, the wonderful fellowship, the music, the colors of sunrise, the 7 Mile Beach at sundown. Feel that sugar-like sand between your toes. Visit the most modern art museum in the Caribbean. Snorkel at world-famous Stingray City. Tour the world's first and only turtle center. Get spiritual at the rum tasting experience of a lifetime. Regale yourself in Caymanian maritime history. And yes, Rotary District Pets Assembly and Conference 2024. Pull up your handbrake. Start your Caymanian experience now. Complete your registration today. www.d7020conference.ky. We're waiting. We're ready. A message from District Governor David Cacaldi. Rotary, creating hope in the world.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. Wow. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Jingle all the way into the season of incredible savings and wish granting with Digicel. This Christmas, get 25% off your Prime Bundle plan or postpaid bill for the next 6 months. With plans featuring social data, entertainment data, and more, Digicel keeps you connected and entertained all season long. But here's the real magic. Digicel could make your Christmas wish come true. Win a prize of your choice, from getting your rent paid to a new laptop or even a brand new car. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased to have in studio Mr. James Miles and Mr. Carl Brown here talking about Anti-Doping Commission. It's an interesting topic. It's one that raises eyebrows when you consider the amount of science, technology, convoluted plans to kind of deceive and win at all costs, right? And it covers so many different arenas that it's quite a... I was looking, Jamal brought in a book that's, I don't know, a couple hundred pages long, and just the guidelines that he has to follow.
And this is this year's.
And that's just this year's, right? Yeah. Which means it's been updated from last year.
Yeah.
They never get smaller, right, Jamal?
No, they don't.
They just get bigger.
They just give you the appendix, the annex, so you can change out the pages.
Oh, I love it. The before the break, we were talking about this is... When we think about anti-doping, our heads tend to go right to Olympics right away, but we have a number of sports. And walking through WADA's, mandate on which sports it's kind of looking at and how that all plays in.
Well, the International Convention Against Doping in Sports is all sports, not just Olympic sports. It is the true spirit of sports is to compete fairly and may the best person win. By all means, I will make sure that I win, and I think trying to keep fair play and to keep people playing through is a task in itself, but it's a worthwhile task when people who have worked extremely hard doing it the right way gets to compete against other people who have worked extremely hard doing it the right way, and It is something that a lot of people has come on board to make sure that it happens, and it works wonders for our little island, our very small island nation with some talented young people.
And we've been punching above our weight in terms of our performance on the international scene, and now we just want to be given the chance to keep on punching above our weight. And to punch our way through the glass ceiling that appears to belong to those from larger countries with larger pools. So
you're absolutely right. We do punch high. Funny enough, I sent a little video the other day, and 2 pro footballers coming out of Cayman. You look how we had number of athletes we have in collegiate sports right now across all disciplines, from golf, basketball, swimming dominating. Obviously, a lot of it, track and field events. It's quite a few, and I guess the last thing you want,
considering the small pool that we have, we are doing remarkably well.
Especially without having any instances of.
Well, I think that comes from education. A lot of our athletes that are now collegiate and elite performers has actually been exposed to at least one or two education sessions from the commission. And I think education is the way to reach and to maintain a high standard of compliance and to get our athletes ready to compete globally. It is something that all nations actually look forward to say, okay, let's see how we match up against the rest of the world. And Cayman is doing well, but we want to make sure that every single athlete from the Cayman Islands is competing true, and that we can be proud of their achievements no matter where they land.
I know, so the two that always tend to take the spotlight when we talk about performance-enhancing drugs are Olympics and bodybuilding. So two that right off the bat, people tend to gravitate, oh, wait, hold on. What have they taken next? You become that much faster, that much, whatever it might be.
And cycling.
Cycling, unfortunately, because of one major story, right? But bodybuilding, so does bodybuilding fall under yourselves? Where our athletes, because I know Robert Thompson just competed in Mr. America, then that was the natural.
Well, I think they have a natural category,
yes,
and a juiced up category.
They don't call it the juiced. They just take off the name of natural, right? It's just the category, right? And you see the size difference, right? That kicks in automatically when you have those enhancements. They don't build your muscles; they just make you compete.
Yeah, but
stronger, right?
In the next 4 years, you can't walk.
Yeah. That's the truth,
you
right?
understand?
Hence the education part, right?
Yeah.
You don't
so
want kids.
And it's about the safety
and in your
health
40s, you're wearing braces.
Yeah.
We see some of those bodybuilders of yesteryear that are now
not bodybuilders. I'm talking about Carl Lewis, who's worn braces into his 50s.
Wow.
Which is one of the indicators.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
It has a serious health effect. So we want to make sure that all the young people in the Cayman Islands who are athletes, not only play through, but that they can enjoy a healthy lifestyle.
Sure.
No, and life beyond.
And live to tell the tale beyond their athletic penultimate performance time to become coaches and to hand the baton to the next generation.
That's the problem,
athletes.
Right?
So we know we're on the way, and we do have a very good ethos that our athletes are buying into, understanding the importance of playing true.
I just clicked in my head when you said that comment just now, and it's so true. If you do get in trouble for some form of performance-enhancing substance, it's not just you.
It's
the entire triangle beneath you that's been looking up to you, right? It's all the money that's been invested into your career, your sport.
It's the associative
everything.
Sponsors. That's why I tell you there's a contingent liability that
no, it brands your country too.
Absolutely.
When you say, this athlete from the Cayman Islands is...
Not every Russian athlete is
everybody's suspect, no? You know what I'm saying?
I remember when Ben Johnson had his steroids thing back in, 88 or whatever it was.
Yes.
I was 8 years old, right? I remember feeling how upset I felt when it was announced. I was like, we lost? What do you mean we lost? We just won it yesterday. You go from the high to the low, right? And your whole country's going, well, that's not good. But it's true. There's a cascade effect that
there's
occurs.
There's a whole domino effect that is felt throughout the entire country. The athlete, his sporting cadre, his family, his community, his country, and his sponsors. His sponsors are a very important part of the success of the sport.
Sure.
And when those sponsors are spooked by an athlete that has betrayed their brand, it becomes horrendous to reattract them. And it takes gold sometimes to reach to get gold. And that means it takes gold to get clothing, training, conditioning, practice. It takes gold for you to be able to get the gold. So if you take a shortcut, you embarrass the source of your gold on your way to trying to get the gold on the podium.
No, it's true. Right? It's
a huge.
It's
a big picture
and
a complex fabric.
Yeah.
And each thread is important.
So, how many athletes in Cayman do we have under your umbrella right now?
Are registered testing pool?
Yeah.
It's only about 10.
So we have 10 athletes.
Yes, in the registered testing pool.
When you say registered testing pool, you mean they already
It
have
is
bio profiles?
Yeah.
Okay.
And elite performers expecting to be at the Olympics or World Championships.
Or World Championships.
Yeah, major.
So does that mean we have 10 athletes theoretically representing Cayman this summer? Is that what you're saying by that?
It's quite possible to be more.
So how did the other athletes then develop their bio profile?
Some of them start from their Carifta age.
Yeah.
If but that's not held under.
They're not on the registered testing pool unless
they're on the path to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
many more people are on the path.
Yes.
To it.
Yeah.
Than those that are in the registered testing.
Those are they're in the pool.
But they are not able to compete for a Cayman without having a bio profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But it's a gradual rite of passage. So as they climb, they become more tested, and then the requirement becomes more important for them to develop the bio record.
I see. Okay.
So it's an emerging thing,
sure,
and it's a continuous thing, and it starts small, but it.
And how many years have we been running this program within Cayman?
The anti-doping program
commissions
from 2005.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been going fairly well.
Yeah.
What's the max number of athletes at one time you've had under your? I guess this
in
might
the
go
registered testing pool.
This might actually go
I
back
think
before.
the most was about 30.
Okay.
That's when we included the rugby team.
Yeah.
Because our rugby team was actually taking on the North American champions and doing pretty good.
Wow.
So they were on path to the World Cup.
Yeah.
So they made
World
the
Rugby Sevens.
So just to make sure that they were
competing through.
Competing. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So not making sure, they had to be.
They had to be.
Yeah. So it's in order for them to go any further, their compliance requirements, it's like running a business and having to tick off all the boxes about continuing your running a business.
It's still something. There's still a bit of a development within the actual. Make sure that the entire jurisdiction is. But you actually, all the athletes are on a path. They're actually part of the process.
And it's a continuous path, generally speaking, and it ebbs and flows.
Sure. I'm now getting a better understanding of where it is. We have to go to 1 p.m. headline news. When we come back, let's talk a bit more about the actual compliance and the standards that you actually have to follow. Okay. More talk today, right after this.
Information to the people. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
Brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Family Resource Center's 2024 parenting programs begin on Monday, January 8th. For a full list of workshops, to learn more or to register, contact the Family Resource Center on FRC at gov.ky or 949-0006. In international news, a Coast Guard aircraft involved in a fatal collision at Tokyo's Haneda Airport was not cleared for takeoff, Japanese authorities have said. The smaller airplane collided with a Japan Airlines passenger jet on the runway on Tuesday. Newly released transcripts of air traffic control instructions just before the crash confirmed the JAL Airbus A350 was cleared to land. Permission for takeoff was not given to the Coast Guard Bombardier Dash 8. All 379 passengers and crew on board the state-of-the-art JAL Airbus was safely evacuated after the collision, police said. An Oklahoma teenager is believed to have become the first human player to beat Nintendo's classic video game Tetris 34 years after its release. Willis Gibson posted a video on his YouTube channel of the moment he reached level 157, causing the game to crash. It only took him 38 minutes to beat the game. Remarkably, until a few years ago, players believed it was only possible to play up to level 29. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Radio
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
Brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands. Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts, MBE, JP. In late 1945, Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts and his brothers formed Tibbett Brothers to build a cargo ship for trading in the Caribbean, which they named TB Radar, launched on August 20th, 1946. Keith supervised the construction, which was the first ship launched on Cayman Brac with the engine already installed. Keith also supervised the building of a second ship the following year, the MV Sonar, which launched on September 9th, 1947. After operating the ships for a few years, the brothers sold them both. Years later, he built and launched the MV Trial on 3rd of January 1967. In 1951, he joined the Trinidad Shipping Company for a year and a half before coming back to Cayman Brac in 1952 to join the ranks of Caymanians who were shipping out to global ports with national bulk carriers, even though, unlike most of his fellow seamen, he spent merely a year on the ocean before turning his sights towards the promised land on shore. One of his personally created catboats was on display in the Kensington Museum in London for many years, a shining example of his pride of craftsmanship and excellence. This was part 4 of his special Sister Islands vignette series dedicated to Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts.
I'll be back. I've got 22 more days.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Rotarians, yes, you Rotarians, we, Cayman District Conference 7020, are busy weaving a welcome mat just for you. We're busy crafting an amazing Rotary experience like none other. From that moment you hover, the moment you touch down, your seatbelt releases, the Rotary Cayman inundation begins. The flavors, the feel, the historic places, the memorable sights, the wonderful fellowship, the music, the colors of sunrise, the 7 Mile beach at sundown. Feel that sugar-like sand between your toes. Visit the most modern art museum in the Caribbean. Snorkel at world-famous Stingray City. Tour the world's first and only turtle center. Get spiritual at the rum tasting experience of a lifetime. Regale yourself in Caymanian maritime history. And yes, Rotary District Pets Assembly and Conference 2024. Pull up your handbrake. Start your Caymanian experience now. Complete your registration today. www.d7020conference.ky. We are waiting. We are ready. A message from District Governor David Kirkcaldy. Rotary, creating hope in the world.
Listening to the general public.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Because
There are more questions than answers.
waiting to take your calls right now.
What the public is saying.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased to have in studio Mr. James Miles and Mr. Carl Brown discussing Anti-Doping Commission. This year is an Olympic year. 329 events, 32 sports, a whole pile of countries taking part in this, and from big countries, small countries, and in between it all, between the athletes and the podium, we have the folks like you trying to make sure everyone's playing on the same playing field, right?
Right.
So before the break, we briefly touched upon if I'm going to make sure I get it right, the national compliance with 8 international standards.
Right.
Walk us through these different 8 standards that you're trying to meet up to.
Okay. Well, one is a standard of education. I could touch on that one because in a few days I will be traveling to Aruba to take part in a workshop where I can train educators to disseminate the education.
So you're not training on the doping side of things, on the clinical side. You're training on the education side.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not too much into all that other stuff. All I do is test athletes and educate our athletes so they know what to not put in their body.
Sure. Okay.
The trainers will be happening next week in Aruba. The UK anti-doping and USA anti-doping organizations will be leading that training, where persons from around the Caribbean will come to learn how to train other persons on delivering the education program, the anti-doping education program.
And this is like all the new drugs that are being included in the list, all those elements. That's what you're going to. Okay.
Right, and to prepare personnel to deliver that.
Okay.
So it's not just me or not just Carl, but me and Carl can teach anyone who wants to be part of the anti-doping program on what to say, what to do, and how to say it, or what to use, what tools to use to educate.
What to emphasize.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the education element.
Yeah.
That's 1 of 7.
And then there's therapeutic use exemptions.
Therapeutic use.
So
exemption.
An athlete is performing.
But he falls ill.
And they have illnesses. Some of them are predisposed because they're asthma. Yeah. So they have asthma, and they will need to report what medications they're taking, and those medications will be placed against the prohibited list, and they will have certain requirements between them and their physician to fill out a therapeutic exemption use form that will be considered along with their results as an athlete.
And then there's a committee that
decides,
that reviews that and say, well, can this person use this other drug that can help, but it's not on the prohibited list? And if that is if that can't be had, then we're saying, well, we want all our athletes to compete at their optimum level fairly. So if Ray is ill, we want to make sure that Ray don't go into the race ill. He can be as well as he can possibly be when he competes.
And I guess the question is, are they using this substance to enhance their performance, or are they using it to recover from whatever it might be, right?
And
so that's hence the panel that decides on this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's number 2.
Reality of the game too. Well, okay.
Yeah. So we're trying to make sure that everybody can compete at their best, as natural as possible.
Just out of curiosity, how many banned substances are there on that list that you have?
Last year's was 480. This year, I not got a good look yet, but I'm pretty sure it's more. Because each time that there's
180
and there's different
substances.
And then there's procedures that are also prohibited.
Procedures.
Sure.
So the
blood doping.
Blood doping, yes.
Sure.
And this worm stuff.
Yes.
All kind of different
So this worm
techniques.
has a specific kind of blood that that heightens oxygen delivery.
It's
delivery, okay. Yeah.
So they find in different ways
they're being creative.
to
Cheaters
enhance
going to
their
try to cheat, right? That's reality, right?
And this is why we constantly are educating ourselves.
Yep.
So we can try to be ahead
so
of that.
So you have to go and learn about any of those newer substances or procedures, and then come back and re-educate your pool here, including your athletes.
I'll educate the anti-doping personnel on those techniques. Not what we will educate the young people on is what not to do. What to have it within yourself, your values to compete fairly, and that once you're on track to be in a registered testing pool, be mindful of what you put into your body.
That's when I think about 480 items. Is Tylenol on that list?
No, but some derivatives of painkillers are.
Some derivatives are, yeah.
And if they're better options, then we can then educate our young people to say, if you're feeling down with a cold, use this one rather than these brands.
So
check them against the
check. I guess
There's the water website actually has a way you can check if your medication is on the prohibited list. You just got to type it in, and it'll tell you.
It's just
yes
about that extra bit of diligence. And you think about an athlete, what they're going through on a daily basis, training-wise, nutrition-wise, school-wise, whatever it might be. It just seems like there's one extra they have to constantly keep. But it's the reality is they don't do it. They don't
Tylenol is different in the U.S. than Tylenol in
the UK.
In the UK. And Tylenol is different.
Is one of them banned and one not?
One of them
it depends on how much of the
how much of particular
element that you have.
Wow.
So there's a lot of coordination with the physicians, the athlete, over their specific.
Obviously, in your group as well, who's there to keep the.
And recently, water asked nations that were shortly non-compliant or non-compliant for a while to establish national compliance platforms. And the national compliance platform would include police, customs, pharmacists, doctors, to rally around just the list sometime, saying, be mindful of these things.
So if the platform is doing what exactly now?
They monitor the importation and the movement of INA and all of these drugs that are on the prohibited list. So with the pharmacists, they can say, okay, let's try to make sure that there's none of this type of Tylenol or whatever. If Tylenol is the issue,
that's a significant
coming into the Cayman Islands.
That's extreme.
And then
that almost seems
onerous
for a jurisdiction of 65,000 people. That's extremely onerous.
But it is.
I don't even know if that's necessary.
It is critically important.
Sure.
For us to meet our obligations. To our sponsors. I keep re-emphasizing that our clients who are our athletes and our government.
I'm trying to wrap my head
in doing
around.
so.
No, but even that we had some victories that I really want to shout out.
Yeah, let's get the
Custom and Border Control.
Yeah.
And the Cayman Islands Postal Service.
Yes.
Because they interdicted importation of fentanyl in the Cayman Islands, and fentanyl.
Well, hopefully, rightfully so. Yes.
Is super deadly. And as a youth worker, I really don't want our young people around this drug.
No, nobody does. No parent does.
You can die from just touching this drug.
Touching it
could kill you.
Contact.
Yeah, but how did that factor into the
anti-doping?
The anti-doping?
Because fentanyl has effect on enabling a super reaction and a super strength.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we have one on there, which is rightfully so. That was a.
No, but there's.
Do you see getting to the point where we could actually have a body here managing 480 substances across all of our pharmacies?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we have a pharmacy council.
And
so if it's something that we go to the pharmacy council with and say, listen, is there any way that these
can
not, or the only how they're imported is by the hospital for hospital use only?
Yeah.
Because that what real fentanyl is for.
Sure.
So
we do have our best practice medical regime in the country is a great asset to our anti-doping commission's objectives, because they operate at a level and they operate they have standards that exceed even their peers, and in so doing, they become a reliable colleague and partner in enabling us to achieve our objectives.
So thank you, Bruce Smith, for the workshop and the webinar that you held with the platform and with the National Anti-Doping Commission, and showcasing the dangers of the drug and some of the efforts that you guys are doing to keep this stuff off our streets and away from our athletes.
Yeah, and that's Border Patrol and
Postal Service. Postal Service. Well, it's an amazing, it's interesting scenario.
It's a critically important aspect of not only sport, but our country, generally speaking.
No, and absolutely correct. Like nobody wants that label. That nobody wants to sit around. Nobody wants to have extremely dangerous drugs near our kids, near our schools, near our streets, near having any access, let alone athletes, anybody. But my head was just around that 480 substances and the level of logistics to try to keep up to date, because that changes every year.
Yes,
it does.
This is
and sometimes midstream of year we will get an update because information intelligence has come to WADA regarding elements that are available, and we have to be aware to conduct best practice to keep us in good state. Scenario.
So we're looking at these. What are the other? I mentioned back to the standards conversation again.
Okay. There's also a standard for privacy and information.
Sure. So that's the results that you collect.
Right. So this is why we're very cautious at the local level that our athletes' information is stored at the regional or WADA level. The information that we have in office is minimal information.
Sure.
Compared to the athlete's profile and biological profile.
The data protection, our laws governing data protection.
Yeah, data protection laws
apply to all that information that's housed there. So no one can just contact WADA and say, hey, listen, I need information on this.
Right. But WADA has an administrative system called ADAMS. It's an anti-doping administrative management system. And a lot of the information for our athletes are stored at that level. So if somebody can hack WADA's ADAMS system, they'll have access to probably all the data for all the athletes in the world, elite athletes in the world.
System to protect against.
But they're constantly updating, constantly revising that site.
It's a new way of the world, man.
Yeah. So
okay. How about when it comes to like your local testing here for when we held CRIFTA here or any events we hold here for, because we host.
We have international events and we host international events.
What are your standards like for within?
We comply with the international standards.
The WADA standards.
Right. Well, the testing order comes from the Caribbean RADO.
Yeah.
Say it again.
The testing order.
Like the kits.
To do the mission. Okay, say that we had powerlifting here recently.
Yes.
The North American Championships.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We actually did testing there. We didn't really blow our horn about it because what we do don't need to be blown,
you're supposed
right?
to be quiet behind the scenes.
Right. So we did testing there, but the order came from the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping saying test this X amount of athletes, X amount of males, females.
So it wasn't the local group that
group.
actually hired. No. It was actually the regional body.
Right, because then the local group can then say, test this one and that one and that one. And
sure,
pick. Sometimes you can test based on performance. Like if somebody sets a world record, you have to test.
Yes.
Somebody who comes first, second, or third, or breaks a record, becomes eligible to be tested.
And then you can randomly test anyone.
And we can combine all four.
Yeah. So
okay. And then the actual testing kits themselves? Is that something you guys buy yourselves?
No, they come from the RADO as well.
And they are a standard testing kit that is developed around a certain process. There is a whole regime from the moment you start to question the athlete.
This regime?
that big booklet in front of
fill out the questionnaire.
Yeah.
And then you go into providing the sample.
It's just a urine sample?
Yeah.
It's urine sample.
That urine sample can actually check for all 480 items, including blood doping.
Yes.
Interesting.
And then
but if they're going to measure for blood doping, they'll do a blood sample.
I was going to say, okay.
Yes.
Or a dry blood sample. They're different techniques.
Yeah.
Okay.
We in Cayman, we don't do blood, but if we have a trained doctor or a phlebotomist on our team, they can be blood doping control officers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we study pharmaceuticals and phlebotomy, we should not take it on because it's something that phlebotomists should do.
In fact, we're not allowed to take it on
unless
there's
it's a standard for football.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And is that a consensual thing? The athlete has to comply with that request?
The athlete...
Because it's an invasive procedure, right? It's not,
well,
it's not
if you say no, it's an anti-doping rule violation.
Yeah.
And we
So
can
if you
deem
don't
it as a
consent to
failed
actually,
test.
to an invasive procedure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
they've had cases where people run away from when they see the doping control officer. They run and hide.
No, I've heard of it. You see them coming at the and they turn and go, oh, you know what? I got to tie my shoelaces and hide on this bench because it's coming. It's an interesting.
So once you're notified, there is a process. We're not going to go into details.
No,
of that,
no, of course, yeah.
But you're notified and you have to comply, or you choose not to comply. It's indicative, and you'll be subject to an additional process that you're going to be subjected to, because as an athlete, you're obliged to fulfill your obligation to enabling your post, your position at the podium.
Wow.
The process of urine sampling too is complex, it's methodical, and it is a required invasion of privacy. So there are very few people who get qualified like we are to become anti-doping officers. We are subjected to significant rigor before you can become qualified to do so.
Sure.
And then we're held to a significant standard. Now, in our group, we are on call to be called throughout the world to test athletes at a moment's notice.
But by that I mean you can actually be pulled in to do an event in Jamaica.
We can be asked to travel to a country with fairly short notice to go and give a test to a specific athlete without them knowing, and there's a process.
Interesting.
So that enables that's another layer of enabling the sport to be assured that you...
And this is coming from the WADA level.
Yes,
WADA makes these determinations.
Yeah.
As an independent body, makes these decisions.
Yeah. WADA, RADA. And WADA, RADA works together.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot in it. There's a lot in this, right? And
just last year, Mita Day and myself qualified as certified international doping control officers.
Yes.
Which can test
so they go
at
any
level, anywhere on the planet.
So will you be at the Olympics this year?
Unless Mita won't go, I'd rather watch it on TV.
You'd rather enjoy the game, right?
Huh?
Rather enjoy it than work it, right?
It is in Paris.
It is in Paris.
So, but if I was to go and work it, I won't see the romance part of it.
No.
So if I was to take my wife to Paris, I wouldn't want it to be a working thing for me. I would rather go and enjoy Paris for what it is, and we can watch it on TV.
Oh, that's a good answer. Good answer. And then as far as because I'm just reading your notes here, the code compliance by signatories and results management.
Right.
Is that what you were just referencing there, that you're the certified individuals who...
No, the signatories is each country signs on to the convention, the international convention against doping in sports.
Okay.
And our mother country has signed on it for us, the United Kingdom, and all its realm has to be in compliant. So.
So you were signed up by default.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Well, either you want to compete globally or not.
Sure.
So I mean, you cannot comply, but don't try to get to the Olympic Games. Yeah. Right? If you're non-compliant for too long,
going to these games, you will be serious about compliance.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of sports, like the business of sports, the politics of sports, the refereeing to some degree of sports, this element of sports. There's so many parts, and we're talking about a game, right? There's so many of these, but it's big business. At the end of the day, when it comes to big business, these are the compliance regulations like any other business in the world, right?
Yeah, it's like any other job.
It's like
there's certain code of that comes with the job, and does it for a professional athlete.
So it's a wild
It's
arena.
like, say, Formula One. You are performing at a specific level, and they can surprise you and have that car pulled down to bits within a half an hour, 2 hours, to make sure that you meet the specifications requirements of Formula One. So this is no different than...
Sure, I mean, it's a compliance body. It's a
compliance bodies have a duty to make sure that when you win, you won.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
And the standards for results management is just that. When we test, we send it to a certain lab that is accredited, that's approved by WADA. Those results are done based on the international standards for collecting the sample. So there's nothing that any bias or anything wrong with the way it was collected, because it affects the livelihood of athletes.
Absolutely.
So a failed test could break an athlete. So we want to make sure that it can stand up in court, especially at the court of arbitration, where athlete is fighting for their career, that the process
is fair to all concerned.
Sure, yeah. No, it's an amazing situation. And so for those who want to learn more about the actual commission, whether
they can go online
and they want to be involved in like what you and Mita were doing, how do they go about this? Where's the manual on how to go through that?
Within this particular community, it is I could almost say it's an Indian wedding where you're chosen, as opposed to you
what an analogy.
You want to come. Just pardon the crudeness of that analogy, but
it took me 30 seconds to understand.
It's not everybody that has an interest that you will be considered.
No,
there's a whole lot involved. It's just like you want to be, if you want to qualify to serve in the judiciary. It's not you have your basic qualification. However, it is you're kind of chosen as opposed to wanting to be chosen.
Sure.
Interesting. Plus, it takes a certain kind of individual who's willing to give of themselves. Sometimes beyond, because we all volunteer. This is beyond our full-time job.
Sure, yeah.
And right now it requires full-time attention, because just to remain compliant.
No, of course, yeah.
For example, we have an occasion. There are urine samples. There's a process called a chain of custody, which JAMO has to carry that significant burden. That chain of custody is platinum. There is absolutely no deviation, and in order for the sample to reach the particular lab at a specific kind of time, in order for it to be considered a true sample, that's a huge burden in itself, and that's just one of the requirements of.
It's a lot that goes into it. Well, it's an Olympic year, and you guys have your work cut out for you this year. I've seen the size of that manual, Jamo.
Yeah. Well, if we focus on educating our athletes, we know that they'll play through. A lot of young Caymanians are looking to make our country proud, and we want to make sure that they're aware of what they're putting into their body, so there is no hiccups when they get on the podium.
So if anyone has any questions or any parents have any questions about this, how can they get a hold of you?
It's best to contact the Olympic Committee.
And
they can
direct you appropriately. Yeah. Gentlemen, we have to go to our first break. Thank you so much.
The greatest thing in the world is to know.
Yes.
There you go.
K-N-O-W.
So ignorance is not bliss, is what you're saying.
No.
Not in this regard.
No.
In that regard, gentlemen, thank you so much again. Happy New Year again. And all the best with a very big year for your work. Yeah. Back with more talk today, right after this.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Jingle all the way into the season of incredible savings and wish granting with Digicel. This Christmas, get 25% off your Prime Bundle plan or postpaid bill for the next 6 months. With plans featuring social data, entertainment data, and more, Digicel keeps you connected and entertained all season long. But here's the real magic. Digicel could make your Christmas wish come true. Win a prize of your choice, from getting your rent paid to a new laptop or even a brand new car. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
Are you a Caymanian interested in a career in the TVET sector? The Ministry of Education is now offering grants to fund short-term TVET courses at registered local institutions. Whether you're looking to upskill, transition to a new career, or find employment, this grant is for you. To learn more and apply, visit www.moescholarship.gov.ky. Invest in your future with a local TVET grant today. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raym Singh filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Appreciation again to Mr. Carl Brown and Mr. James Miles here during our last segment about the Anti-Doping Commission. Big year with the Olympics coming up this summer. Again, open line is open throughout the show today, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. But now, very pleased to have in studio the legendary one and only Mr. Matt Brown.
Don't make the intro that big, right?
I was gonna go longer, like the whole rap song for you.
People might actually anticipate, some real information and a real stimulating conversation. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Happy New Year, brother! Happy New Year.
Yeah. It's interesting, huh? Like we use these markers, days, months, to signify a change, or that something is going to happen. I wish everybody the best. if you're going to do the gym this year, go for it. But every day, even as we call them days, like we go to bed and say, oh, tomorrow's a new day. Yeah. Just this idea of the sun setting. Yeah, that's another marker that we say, oh, it's tomorrow something will change.
It's like we need that starting point, we need that end point. It's like we need that some form of. There's that study that was done where it took a watch off someone locked in a room, and so he had no concept of the time, so everything was continuous, and it basically went crazy, right?
Yeah,
Now we're not saying we're that far yet, but
no, this room reminds me of those rooms. So, if anybody didn't see that experiment, I didn't see it, but there's silent rooms, so they use lots of absorption, and apparently the human mind can't just sit in silence without some stimulation.
Yeah,
I've done a sensory deprivation tank. This is
really
This is so you are fully nude. Then you go into water that is the same temperature as your body. So they try to get it to about 98.6.
Okay.
And then they fill it with Epsom salt, so high salinity. So then you're floating, right? And then they not lock you in. Please don't lock anybody. But they shut the tank. So this is all light is gone, all noise is gone, and then you lose sense of touch because you have no cloth.
You're floating.
And yeah. So for about the first 5 minutes to 10 minutes, your mind is racing, right? Because you're like, oh, what's going on? This is weird.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And then after, if you know how to relax your mind, then you lose a complete sense of space, and then you become very aware that you are not only your physical body, but there is a sense of you. But it'd be like you traversing through space. You have just it's just you and your mind. So if you haven't tried it, next time you're flying abroad, it's a fun experience.
In the States?
Yeah, it went. There was a big fad. Joe Rogan started out promoting it.
Yeah,
I probably got it off of one of his podcasts.
I was gonna say, because you're a parent, did you do the sensory deprivation just to get away? Like, I'm escaping. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lock myself in a water tank with Epsom salt. Forget you all.
You got the kids. I'll see you in about 3 hours. I did a couple times. I did one in Florida, one in Tampa. I did one in New York. And then every experience is different, and you the first time you do it, you get this maybe a revelation about yourself.
Sure.
And then you're going back in thinking, I'm gonna get another one, and nothing happens.
Right? So it's like the process it's a one time.
They also have sensory immersion, so it's the opposite of that. You strap on like a headband full of lights, and then they shoot lasers and these patterns.
Oh,
so there's different therapies.
The first one sounds a little more
for you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you need, right?
It's kind of like poking you nonstop in the head. Are you awake? Are you awake? Are you awake? Are you awake? Sounds like having a toddler, right? Daddy, you up?
But our idea of relaxation is either drinking, consuming alcohol.
Sure.
So you say, hey, what do you want to do? Oh, let's have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
So we use tools, whether we're using the right tools, or we say, hey, let's go get a massage.
Sure.
Which comes at a nice price.
Yeah.
And the minute that you go to the spa, here's a glass of champagne. So we know what at least the market knows what we classify as quote unquote relaxation.
Yeah. We had Miss Maribel on last week talking about phone or digital detox, and she was talking more about the holistic approach to resetting yourself, right? Getting your mind right. Avoid whether it's substance abuse, whether it's phone abuse, whatever it is, to chasing that dopamine hit in our head, right, that we're constantly looking for. It's interesting when you brought up the sensory deprivation, because it's that complete shutting out of all the distractions in the world and just letting yourself float.
And you say, I paid for 2 hours. So
I'm milking this.
But I did a course when I was in college that probably was, one of my pivotal moments that I can say, after this course, I kind of saw the world slightly a bit different. But that was an awareness of the mind going to the past. So, okay, if I'm right now, my mind could, if I wanted to, think about what just happened. Oh, I shouldn't have said that in that email. Yeah. Oh my gosh, on the phone just a second ago, I should have told the guy this instead of that.
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that to my wife. Back. So the mind goes back, and then the mind says, oh, I got to do this tomorrow. Oh, I have to get this done tonight. Oh, I got to pick up the kid from after school. So constantly back, forward, back, forward. Never enjoying. Hey, I'm with Ray.
Yeah.
And just being okay with staying in this exact second. Yeah. And then that's when you can actually enjoy life. If you're playing with your kid, if you're enjoying a concert. But either way it's programmed, or we choose to be this way because for whatever reason. But it's very hard to stay in them.
A meditation course?
It was called The Art of Living, which is a big title.
It's a big title, man.
The Art of Living. Yeah. It's an organization. I think there's a guru probably in India who was the founder. But anyway, he came up with a meditation technique, which is basically just a form of repetitive breathing.
Sure.
With certain amounts of holds and exhales. Yeah. And they teach you that. And at the same time, a bunch of, let's call them people who have some wisdom inside of them.
Yeah.
You can ask questions and
Absolutely.
do some Q&A. But, and then with that was no alcohol, no tobacco, or no nicotine, no carbonated sugars, no Pepsi, no meat. And
No
if you
meat.
cut, no meat.
What
Yeah.
was I understood the other one's reason. What was the no meat?
Most likely because it has roots in in Hinduism, and maybe they
Understood. Okay, sure.
and this is not a religious
Understood.
course,
No.
but at some point I see the similarities.
Yeah.
You say, you guys got that from Hinduism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot of crossover.
Or Sikhism, sorry, maybe not Hinduism. You see, my ignorance is bliss when it comes to labeling things. But they do a good job, and of course this is a paid for course, so it's knowledge isn't free. But since I went through those 5 days, I think it's oxygen. Just if you sit and pump your body full of oxygen, and Wim Hof does the same thing. I don't know if you know Wim Hof.
I know Wim Hof. Have you done the ice bath?
The cold is really hard for me. I went to the beach the other day, couldn't get in.
Have you seen his videos when he does underwater swims?
Yeah.
So for those listeners, Wim Hof is a form of guru now. He's the one that actually injected himself with some plague. I forget.
No, I think he. Yeah. So coming to it from a purely scientific method, opposed to the ancients who figured out how to do this type of breathing. But I think he overcame basic flus, colds, maybe some bacteria, some form of virus, and was able to overcome this very quickly, opposed to medicine. Yeah.
And his two theories were strong breathing techniques, and he has YouTube has his breathing technique on YouTube where you can actually follow along with it. Dangerous, so do it when you're sitting at home because it does involve a lot of holding your breath. But he would hold his breath for like minutes at a time, and then he had his ice bath, which is now quite popular. Like
Huge,
they're selling these ice baths now,
and that is a really surefire way to be in the moment. You see, all of these techniques, I'm finding links between it. I don't know if I'm forcing them. See, this is what I told you.
There's a connection there.
But when you are in a body of ice, it's very hard to think about an email. It's very hard to think about something else other than... And then what are you doing? You're pumping. There's even a thought that said that people who smoke cigarettes are somewhat doing regulated breathing, right?
Sure.
You take this, how you hold.
You're restricting
so while you're putting harmful chemicals into your body, carcinogens, all of that is obviously really bad for your body and negative. But if you just take the positive idea of taking a break and going to go and do some breath work. But it's hard. It's like exercise, right? When are you going to do it? You either wake up in the morning and do it. Or you after work, but people. It's hard. I don't do it. I need to do it. But I'm speaking from an awareness, but I'm not speaking out of a practice.
Sure.
Because it's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to do breathing exercises. Anything that's good for you is like effort. You have to put in this work.
We have to go to break. But on that note, my son and I have this conversation on a regular basis, and I always say to him, "Choose your hard." Right? It's one of those things. You can choose your hard today of getting up and doing your workout, or you can choose your heart of when you don't make that team for whatever reason because you weren't as competitive as the other players. Right? And so choose. Which one do you want to feel? Do you want to get up and struggle or feel that sense of I could have? That could have feeling is tough sometimes, man.
Yeah. We would all choose the right hard in theory. And
it feels easier, right?
the right hard in practice.
Right hard. Let's go to commercial break. Back with more talk today right after this.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymanational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Get ready to laugh till your belly hurts. The Laughter Lounge Comedy Show is back at Cabana Bay Cinema on Friday, January 5th. Doors swing open at 9 p.m. and the laughs kick off at 9:30 p.m. We've got comedians from Miami, Chicago, and Atlanta, including the hilarious Valerie Salnave, Sacco from the Windy City, and the fabulous Vanessa Fraction. Brought to you by Laugh Cayman and sponsored by the Department of Tourism and Cayman Islands Little League. Tickets and info at laughcayman.com or call 326-4510. Don't miss the funniest night of the year.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased to have in studio Mr. Matt Brown. Here just chatting about anything that we feel that's comfortable to chat about. And right now we're talking about Wim Hof and the ice baths and breathing techniques and centering your mind back to the present moment. If you feel like joining the conversation, please give us a call, 949-6990. Matt, back to you.
It's interesting that nobody has capitalized on on selling it in Cayman yet. There's yoga studios.
Well, we have the ice one in town, don't we?
Oh, you can do it now. Somebody has an ice bath?
Somebody has the Bio 2 where the cold 2 you go in and it's the cold chill where your body's
the cryo.
The cryo chamber. Yes.
Yes.
The cryo chambers are here.
Yes. For sports, I think it does. Reducing inflammation. But I mean, this is me just taking a stab at what I assume is happening. But I think, yeah. So yesterday I was in the bush looking for a ball for my son, and I got jabbed by some bush. So I can see this swelling already, right?
Sure.
But you stick ice on it, reduce inflammation. So if you were doing this every day for yourself, I think, 11 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day? There's
certain
studies on what is the
optimum,
optimum exposure. But you will feel the benefits, and that is going to send a lot of adrenaline running through your body.
Absolutely.
This fight or flight. You do that 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you go to the business meeting.
Yeah.
You are going to be on fire.
Yeah. Like I do my cold showers in the morning, right? So my mornings.
You do it? You do?
Yeah, I do cold showers. But it's it's not as far as the ice baths. Ice baths are a lot more colder than my water's kicking out of my tap. But it's that effect of it's not the comfortable shower. It's not the relaxing. Yeah. When you think about it, if you're going to tackle your day and you're putting yourself in that relaxed sleepy mode and then jumping into traffic.
Well, that's what we want. We crave comfort. Wake up in the morning. Right? I would like caffeine to wake me up, please, because I don't want to exercise, right? So
same routine.
Give me the caffeine. Then I'll take a pancake. Tons of flour, extra syrup, please. Give me, like you said, a nice warm shower. Yeah. Then a nice car, please, with the nice soft seats. Yeah. And then I'd like a nice chair at work. And then I want to come back home to a nice couch. And then I'd like to sleep in a nice, comfortable bed. And then I'd like to just keep on sitting.
It's a constant craving.
Yeah.
Whereas it's the uncomfortable that actually...
If you want to comfort... There's a saying similar to what you said, if you want to have a comfortable life, you have to do uncomfortable things.
Yes.
And if you want to... So, and please do not feel like I am living some lifestyle of... I am simply just... regurgitating a bunch of forums, podcasts, and hearsay.
But there's a lot.
But I don't do it. But I want to do it. But I'm aware of my own failures.
Sure.
I am at the point where I say, you know what, I should not have that drink. I should not be sitting at this point. So awareness is, the first step.
But it's like these little like micro hacks. So one of the things I found, this is about a couple years, handful of years back, was when I would have my morning coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I won't sit now. I stand while I have my coffee.
Nice.
It's a micro hack on, instead of the double whammy comfort of the sit while I enjoy my coffee, I can stand while. But I felt like I'll catch myself while I have my coffee going, I really want to sit right now. And that's that discipline of going, no, don't sit. Or there's a couch I have at home where as soon as I sit on that couch, my brain goes, hey, nap time. But I know that, right? So I love that couch. It is so comfy.
Yeah, that's it. That's how the selling features.
Yeah.
When we were in the furniture business for a long time, and that's what people want. People want a nice, soft bed.
Furniture.
But we started from hay, coming up, and then before that it was the ground.
Yeah.
So our species we haven't evolved to be ready to sleep on a nice soft pillow. So, and if you go to your who does the spine?
Chiropractors?
Not a chiropractor, a neurosurgeon. Someone who actually works on the big up to all the chiropractors out there. But I'm talking about neuroscience. It's not a good idea to put your body in that position. How do you sleep? What's your position?
I always start off, I do a slanted, crooked, where I'm kind of
You're on your stomach?
No, I'm on my side stretched, and that's how I fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I have to stretch. If I don't stretch out, I don't actually fall asleep. If I stay in a little ball or curl up, I'm no.
Yeah.
But I'm not a.
Mine is really bad too, and there's an optimal sleeping position. I think it's on your back. I think you're supposed to be sleeping to open up your nostrils. But what's really interesting is that in the case that my wife would not be in the room, I find myself in the same position.
As though she were there.
Yeah. I never go to the middle. Never enjoy the actual size of the bed.
That's not your zone. You know your boundary line. You have a boundary. You're married. You have a boundary.
Don't
cross that line.
Yeah, I know it's. I think we talk about a good night's sleep. What's this called? REM sleep.
Yeah.
So last night the kids came in four times because today is school, right? So we interrupted their sleep pattern last night. So every night since we got off of holidays, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, doesn't matter when they go to bed, 12 o'clock, stay. Last night I put them to bed at 7:45.
No!
In 1 o'clock they're up. So... we're habitual. We got these patterns.
We had this, and our bodies are used to a clock, right? So we talked about that start and stop before, and our bodies tend to follow. They're like machines. We have a start, we have an off. When our body runs out of gas,
I wish I could teach these chickens around the place to get into that circadian rhythm, because these lights, street lights, right? Yeah. The chicken doesn't understand what's going on, so 1 o'clock in the morning, they're like, "Yo, the sun is here." Out and about, right?
The chickens, I think, have...
What are we going to do with the chickens?
I need you to answer that one. What would you do with the chickens? Because my thought is there has to be some kind of call on the volume of chickens.
Yeah, probably like a multi fork approach. So some culling, some maybe some poultry farming, or
poultry farming is, I think, the solution.
Something to hold the population back, because it's for garbage. This was my experience with it, is that they were able to get inside the garbage, and then take the garbage out. So,
and that's all over the world.
Then they make a mess, and somebody has to go and pick it up.
Garbage is a health hazard, right? That's why we have a way of taking care of it. So it's not actually. Chickens are actually finding ways to. Listen, back up north, like you have raccoons. You deal with raccoons, right? You don't want them just kind of.
How do they deal with raccoons?
Unfortunately, raccoons tend to deal with themselves more often than we deal with them.
What do you mean? Raccoon on raccoon crime?
Raccoon on raccoon, man.
Yeah.
No, between your neighborhood dogs, they'll keep them away. They will.
So predator in the area.
Yeah, will actually
there you
shoot, people will shoot the raccoons.
Okay.
That's just nature. You don't, because raccoons tend to carry rabies a lot of times.
So it's morally okay to.
Yeah, because you don't want raccoons near your family, right? They will go crazy and they will give you rabies. So you don't see raccoon. You don't want to deal with that. We have squirrels though. So as a kid, I remember my dad would put pepper on the garbage bags because the squirrels would avoid.
So hold on, wait before he goes outside to destroy the garbage. They're seasoning up these garbage bags.
Seasoning up the garbage bag.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Singh. Hey,
what you doing? She has pepper in my garbage.
Yeah, don't mind me.
But we'd have squirrels that would do the same thing, and we never biting the chickens. Listen, if we thought the iguanas were a legitimate problem for farmers, and they were actually going after and cropping our flowers from our mango trees, whatever trees they were, and they were creating a nuisance, and everyone could see they were, and there was a big call to do that. I think there are some areas where you see such an overload of chickens that when you start seeing that much roadkill of chickens.
Okay. So what we did with the iguanas, we put a bounty on their head, $5.
Sure.
This caused a big blow up.
Yep.
For I think we had an environmental protection fund that we used to get the money. So
I can't recall how that happened. Yeah.
There was some. I think Mr. McLean, Art McLean. I think he was an advocate for using the fund. If my memory is right, could be wrong, but still, I see the colors going around. So there's people still out there that are willing to get $5.
You know, I still think on today, if we had done iguana on a stick and sold it to tourists with the amount of cruise shippers that
we gotta do something.
I'm telling you, if we had done iguana on a stick and deep fried it, I'm not knocking any tourists, but we have a large contingent of American tourists.
You haven't tried it?
Who like deep fried foods. And I think if you deep fried iguana on a stick and sold it $5 a pop, we would have increased our GDP by $5 a head. Now, I say that half jokingly. I don't know the health requirements, but
iguana is consumed a lot in Central America, and it's it's meat.
Yeah. Wasn't there a group that was actually trying to repackage them at one point and ship them off?
I'm sure there was. I mean, I applaud anybody who is a capitalist and who can find opportunities in the market. Yeah. I also heard people are breeding them and taking them back to.
That was the nature.
So I
that's the whole.
I applaud it too. So, whatever you see as a market, as an opportunity, but if you if you take the iguana on a stick concept, right? Let's call it a USP, a unique selling product. Yeah. In Cayman, what do we have that another country doesn't have? These shirts are made in China, right? Yeah. They say, well, man, welcome to Cayman. You go to Jamaica, you see the same shirt. They just take the Jamaica, replace it with Virgin Islands, Cayman. All of these, just labels, gets imported, and we take it down in all of these stores on the waterfront and sell it as a Caymanian souvenirs. It's not. Oh. It has nothing to do with it.
The most natural thing is the guy selling coconuts in town, right?
Yeah.
And he does. And I look at his business model. I'm like, that's a genius business model. Wheel up in a grocery cart.
Yeah.
Chop that coconut right there.
Yeah.
$10, $5, whatever it is a pop.
It's I'm sure you couldn't get a business license to do that. I don't think that if you said that this is my model, you take it down to DCI and say, this is what I want to do. I said, well, how are you gonna wash your hands? Where's your ice? Where's your sanitation? Where's your plumbing?
True.
So he has beat the system. He beat the system by just being like, I roll in out here.
I got a grocery cart.
And then now, what are you gonna do? I mean, he's a part of our tourist product.
Cheers to capitalism. On that note, let's go to our 2 p.m. headline news. Back with more talk today right after this.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Family Resource Center's 2024 parenting programs begin on Monday, January 8th. Understanding ADHD, Parenting Children with Anxious Behaviors, and Fathers First. To learn more, email frc@gov.ky or call 949-0006. In international news, a long list of people associated with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein is expected to be made public in the coming days. The disclosures may throw new light on the sex trafficking network directed by Epstein, who died in 2019, and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The disgraced millionaire mixed with high-profile figures from the world of politics, business, and royalty. A judge ordered the court documents and a lawsuit linked to Maxwell must be unsealed. There are 187 members of John Doe in the court papers, and many of these will now be given their real names. A former clerk who refused to give a marriage license to same-sex couples has been ordered by a judge to pay legal fees to one couple's lawyers. Kim Davis was found guilty by a jury last year of violating the Kentucky couple's constitutional rights. On Tuesday, she was ordered to pay $260,000 in fees, plus $100,000 in damages she already owed them. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased to have in studio Mr. Matt Brown. We've covered a range of topics from ice baths to iguana on a stick to chickens, and we're going to jump right over to some hot topics: real estate. Matt Brown, Cayman real estate.
Yeah, the market is still hot. There's tons of demand. You know, the Cayman is like a gold mine. It's the best product that you can buy. It holds value. It gets ROI every year. You can pass it on. You can take equity out on it. It's just a really good product to buy, to own. Very little downside.
Sure.
Other than monthly payments, which of course is tied to the interest rate.
Which is a big one, but yeah.
So, but interest rates, at least now, I mean, we suspect that they will start to drop this year. So if, by this time next year, you should have dropped a few points, and which is just going to allow people to be able to afford it.
Sure.
Because, like I said, the demand is there. It's not that I mean, everything that I have on the market right now, I have lots of interest in it. It's just a simple question of, can this buyer go to the bank and convince the bank to give them the money to buy it?
Sure.
And obviously, the amount that you pay the bank back is tons more than what the price of the item is. So they have their own business, which is, I guess, needed, because people don't tend to be walking around with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. So, but they are a necessary part of the equation. So what you really need to do is to shop around, take your business to many banks and have them fight for your business.
When you look at the price of real estate, now you see these sharp from 2019, just prior to COVID, to now a short 4 years later, 4.5 years later. We've seen some significant hikes.
Oh, yeah.
In some areas, close to 100%, like this doubling of value of real estate, right?
Yeah.
One, that's not a sustainable increase, right? Neither is it a attainable increase. When you start seeing a family who was trying to save for a home in 2020, back in 2019, immediately went, uh-oh.
Yeah, the goal post just keeps moving,
and
it's not fair to. It's not fair to the average person who's doing all the right things, right? Yeah. Our parents said, "Hey, save your money. This is what you have to do. Get a job. This, and then somebody pulls the rug from underneath you." So at the same time, the market is its own little machine. So if the demand is coming from overseas, which it did during this time, we created a nice bubble. The economy was questionable, and we said, hey, we're COVID free, and if you want to be a global traveler, come to Cayman. You don't need there's nothing holding you back from owning property. and somebody say, "Oh, I kind of like it here.
Yeah.
I'll buy a piece."
I
and
have
then
500 grand.
Yeah.
Drop it down.
So we just kept on stepping it up. Yeah.
Do you think
if it's sustainable?
When I say sustainable, do you think there's a one? How much do you feel like the pension withdrawals during that time, so many reinvesting into real estate as opposed to the pension, which for someone looking at it, I can do better as an investment perspective, investing in real estate.
Well, you'll get more returns probably with real estate than you will with your pension. But at the same time, that's not the reason for your pension is not to get a huge return. It's a safe, slow, steady nest egg that you're going to need to survive on after retirement. So whether it's a good idea to pull from your pension, that's debatable. It has to. Everybody has their own factors, but if you see an opportunity and you need to, and you feel that this is the right opportunity, then you have to question yourself, how am I going to get it? And if you don't have the cash, then going to your pension might not be a bad idea, depending on your age. If you need to pay off the property and you go to the bank and you do the calculation, you say, well, if I don't take it out from my pension, how much will the bank profit in interest by the time I pay it off? Okay. It's all math. You can sit down with a pen and a paper and figure it out, and the math will give you the answer. Yeah.
When you look at your kids now, your kids are on the young side. They have plenty more growing to do. But when they hit their 20s, mid-20s, 30s, and they're in that, I'm looking out for my future kind of time mindset. How do you think the market's going to look then? And I know it's tough to say 20 years down the road.
It's Manhattan. We're basically going to be Manhattan. So you could say, hey, I'm looking for a condo downtown Manhattan, want to spend $400,000, and I'll say, well, it's really nice to meet you, but great conversation, but I'm sorry, that product just does not exist. Wow. And that is just a reality that it's better to be aware of than try to fight against. We are simply Dubai, simply south of France, simply Manhattan. That is the product that we have, where it's a small country, limited land space. We're going to have to build up. I grew up with a yard. I was privileged enough to have the experience of knowing what it is to be able to open a door, run outside, and try to get lizards and climb a tree. That was a magical experience that I had. But this doesn't mean that this is the same experience for every Caymanian child. Sure. The new Caymanian child will most likely have a different experience. One might not be better than the other, but just different.
Sure.
So living on the 7th floor, your neighborhood will be the kids on the 7th floor, and you're going to have a community park. So it's changing. That is it. And if you embrace it and you say, okay, well, do I want to buy? Yes or no? And you say, well, look at the prices, and then you go, well, what are you gonna do? That's it. If you figure out a way, and like I said, the pension is an opportunity. That this could be a key. They say, hey, I know how to buy, because it seems past results are not an indication of the future. Sure. However, since the 70s, this market has been on a steady up.
Very
uptick.
much so, yeah.
And like you said, 2019 till 2024, we got a huge spike. Will there be a correction? Yeah, it's happening now. There is a correction.
Are you seeing a slowing down?
It's more to do with the reality of lending. If the lenders are not fast enough, if the lenders are not able to give the money for whatever reason, maybe the seller might be willing to take a lower price, because the customer says, you know what, I went through all the steps. The bank says, I cannot afford I am willing to buy it. However, I just simply can't get there. This is the price that the bank is giving me.
Not my fault.
Will you accept it?
Yeah.
And then it's a conversation. The worst that can happen is that they say no. They say no. And then you say, okay, fine. And then you go on to another property.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, you'll never be able to get a discount unless you say, hey, this is what I want. This is what you want. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And you have a discussion. And it might be no. that's fine.
Completely side question. Just as from the realtor perspective, the realtor hat, there's a lot more realtors now in the market.
And I wish them all well.
Do you find it to be a very competitive element? Like, we have a lot of radio stations, a lot of media in the market. We tend to get along quite well with all the other media houses. Do you find there's a
I think it's more of a respect, because it's kill or be killed. It's a hunting. I have a hunting mentality that there's nobody that's going to provide the elk unless I go and get it.
And go get it.
Yeah. So I'm very aware that I need to bring products to the market. So I have products that are priced right and that have high demand. I have in Lookout Gardens, I can get you a 2-bedroom for $385, which is half of a duplex. And when we say half of a duplex, you're essentially both sides have the end unit, so there's lots of natural light. This is brand new construction. This is white quartz countertops. This is nice matte wood tile. These are high ceilings. The price, the only thing in that current construction that is not there is landscaping, is a high quality of landscaping, and that was done intentionally to save the customer money. So in a sense that, hey, there's only 4 units, right? 2 duplexes. Between the 4 of you, if you guys want a lush lawn, if you want to do AstroTurf,
sure.
4 of you guys get together, high-five each other, chip in your money, and go and do it. But there's no need for me to add on this price, or for me to work with the developer and say, hey, let's tack on this extra. Landscaping costs a lot of money. It doesn't make sense for me to add this into the sales price just so that you can go to the bank and you can have a higher monthly payment. Yeah. But if you want to set aside a fund and do it yourself, so $385 for a 2-bed, $275 for a 1-bed. That's the same. That's in Lookout Gardens. That's in Bordentown. In Northside, I can get land with fill, not filled completely, but a substantial amount of fill for $85,000. Which used to be the average house lot, right? I mean, everything used to be $85,000. Yeah.
So to hear that now, I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
I didn't quite.
But I mean, that is. But some people want to live in Northside. Some people grew up in Northside. Some people have their family in Northside.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, if you have a desire to be in Northside, I have land for $96,000 in East End. That is high land, dry, in a small subdivision. Sure. We have a project in Savannah called Euphoria. So $425 for a 2-bedroom. That is only 6 units. Really nice construction. And this is, all the bells and whistles that would be subtracted from the other one. Sure. So 2 different products. Yeah. What else have I got? I'm just thinking off the top.
Hold that thought. I got
tons of
going. Yeah. Commercial break. Back with more talk today right after this.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Jingle all the way into the season of incredible savings and wish granting with Digicel. This Christmas, get 25% off your Prime Bundle plan or postpaid bill for the next 6 months. With plans featuring social data, entertainment data, and more, Digicel keeps you connected and entertained all season long. But here's the real magic. Digicel could make your Christmas wish come true. Win a prize of your choice, from getting your rent paid to a new laptop or even a brand new car. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations. A taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today, the last part of our show. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and pleased to have on the show Mr. Matt Brown. We've been covering as much territory as we can because we don't get the pleasure of his company too often. Matt, before the break, we were just kind of a bit about your real estate world. Fire back one more property, if you don't mind.
Just before the break, I was just listing off some properties, but in the case anybody is looking for a canal lot, so living by the water obviously is more of a luxury product. And when I don't know if we touched on the cost of construction, but due to inflation and all of the drama that COVID did with supply chains, obviously the price can never come down because that's what the market can bear.
Sure.
So we are willing to pay X amount of dollars for this and that, and everybody who's selling these products are now aware of that. So the price will never come down. But anybody who built before. Like I have a lot. I have 2 lots in North Sound Estates that have seawalls and that are filled. Now, the cost of doing a seawall is very high, and I don't know if you're familiar with North Sound Estates, but you can see that whenever the boats drive by, little small wakes will go into the lots. So every boat that drives by, you are losing minuscule amounts of fill back to the water. So all of your fill is sometimes on the bottom of the sea. So I have 2 lots that are filled and that have seawalls. And luckily for whoever is interested in these lots, they're not priced in to as the cost that it should be. So for $250,000, you can get a lot with a seawall that is filled in North Sound Estates. So if you're a boater or if you're somebody who is interested in the boating business, and then there's an adjacent lot which is a little bit bigger and it has twice the amount of water frontage. So for example, if you owned a business that you were taking boats out, you could have twice as many boats parked up. So for $250,000 or $350,000, two lots are available. But my number. Let me tell you my number.
No, please.
Because in the case that anybody's interested, it's 916-2082. That is 916-2082. 916-2082.
Mr. Matt Brown, that's the so we've covered some territories from
we did some stuff today.
Chickens.
We did chickens.
Iguana
on a stick.
That's
Ray's product that he'll bring to.
I still think that could have actually done some incredible. It still can.
I mean, have you tasted iguana? This is a question.
No, I had a chance to actually in Costa Rica.
I tasted iguana.
How was it?
It's fine.
It's fine.
But it's not a taste that you're going to say, I want this.
Sure.
It's something equivalent to chicken, but as an experience to probably get a photo. Maybe a tourist could be interested. What we used to do when I was a teenager, if we could get an iguana, we would put it on a rope and then put it on your shoulder, and then go to the beach. And then it's a picture. The value of it is some memory.
So a true story, I used to have 2 pet snakes back in my 20s.
Okay.
And one was a chondro python that would wrap around my wrist.
Nice.
And I would actually go out with this little python wrapped around my wrist.
Yeah.
It got too big and I couldn't actually go out. Back in my 20s, back when I was, I thought it was
yeah.
cool to watch.
Yeah.
And it actually was.
Yeah.
Because women are going, that's not real.
Yeah.
And then it would like pop his
There's
head
a
up.
certain kind of woman that approaches you. 99% of women like, get it away. But
The ones that approach me,
it's a very people that
very novel.
that are not inherently afraid of snakes are kind of interesting, because there was an idea that said that babies are naturally afraid of snakes. So kids have natural fears: falling,
Interesting. Yeah.
darkness, and snakes.
And sound. Heavy sound.
Sure. Yeah. Anything that is kind of written into our DNA. As
never
you,
heard of a baby
you
one,
should. Yeah. But so I mean, hopefully we don't have any breakout any snake population.
Snakes on a plane
growing.
issues going on. Yeah. Although that segues into our next one. That's the entertainment factor. What better way to segue into entertainment than snakes on a plane, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? So, true story. So the other day, for the first time ever, I couldn't believe I'd never seen this movie before. Escape from L.A. Have you
never heard of this?
I recommend anybody who's watching it. It is so bad. You just
yeah.
cannot stop watching it.
It
is like the pivotal train wreck. You kind of go, what is happening? And I was trying to explain it to my son, and I couldn't. Like, there was no logical way to explain what was happening. And it's got such an amazing cast. Well, Kurt Russell is the lead actor in it.
Okay. I can explain. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I can explain what's happening there. That is bad writing. That is kind of saved by good production.
There's no good production in this movie.
Not good production?
When I say every element of this movie, kind of go.
Every element is bad.
But then I read about it. And apparently, when they wrote the initial script, it was supposed to be like a huge budget film.
Okay.
Lots of big actors at the time. And actresses, and they thought it was going to do very well, and it tanked at the box office. And then 20 years later, a bunch of kids growing up went, "Oh, this movie is kind of cool. It's like pop culture. This is kind of cool." And all of a sudden, they made their money 20 years later back in this movie. But this is back when we had VHS tapes and everything else. I recommend you watch it. I would love to hear your feedback.
No, I will. I mean, I like awkward. Sometimes even awkward situations, but There's a triangle. I think it's budget, time, and money. And normally you can get two. So if you have a lot of money and time, then you can get it done faster. No, if you have money and money, time, and what was the other one? Money. I need a triangle. There's three, and you can only
run out of time. Figure this out.
And you can only get 2 out of 3. So, but what Hollywood is now doing is taking less risk. So, they would prefer to bring back stories that have nostalgia, that have a built-in audience, or that have such a cast that it's probably hard to fail. So it's harder to break in with a good script.
Sure.
Than it was maybe.
Hence the Barbie,
20
the rise of Barbie as a
Barbie
nostalgia kind of thing.
Very good. All of the series, Marvel, Spider-Man. This is all stuff. Star Wars, everything that you already saw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Harry Potter, anything that says Fast and the Furious. Let's just keep on bringing it back because it has a built-in
how
audience.
crazy it gets or how wild the story gets. Let's just keep
the idea is to sell tickets, and that's what entertainment is. It's entertainment business. It's not necessarily entertainment. Or it's a music business. It's not just music.
Good point.
Yeah. So in Cayman, there's good music, but there's not necessarily a huge music business.
It's like we had Jason Gilbert on the show yesterday talking about exactly that and the start of the infrastructure of the music industry and the music business, from SONA, the Songwriters Association, to he's now started a music school as well. Looking at, and it's just it's interesting hearing his take being inside that industry, right, on the business side. Where now we're seeing the laying of like the framework to make it a business for working managers who are coming up in the music chain.
It's a cutthroat business. Sure. It's a survival of the fittest. So if I'm the label and I have the budget and I have an artist. Let's say I have Justin Bieber under my roster. I might say, hey, let's hire 5 songwriters who have a good track record. The 5 best songwriters. Let's hire the 5 best producers. Let's give everyone a shot. I send it out to them, and then I get the feedback. I look at each one. I throw away 4, and then I do the same thing with 5 producers, and then I do the same thing with 5 mixing engineers, and I do the same thing with 5 mastering engineers. You're going to end up with the creme de la creme. So, and then obviously you're going to promote it using faked algorithms that are. The music business is no longer RCA and Universal. No. It's now Facebook, TikTok.
Yes.
These are the distribution channels are now the gatekeepers.
Yeah, it's interesting how the industry changed in a very short span of time. In a very relatively short span of time, it changed from your labels to the gatekeepers.
And you are now funding your own career.
Absolutely,
so you don't mind putting $50 into boosting a post.
No,
then
because it's for your own benefit, right?
So they say, hey, you get your own audience, and once you have 3 million followers, come and talk to me, and then, but at that point you have to ask yourself, is it worth it, or can I just continue to grow my stuff organically and own 100%? So these are artists that have remastered. You ever seen these commercials? Come here, Lionel Richie remastered.
Yeah,
come here. So this is because the labels own the master, which is the recording of the music.
Sure.
So, but they don't necessarily own the writers. So maybe if you were the writer and you wrote it yourself and you knew all the musicians and you guys made the music yourself, you have the opportunity to go and re-record this work separately. And if you can play it exactly as you did and sing it exactly as you did, you should be able to convince the public that this is the same song. So, but you can distribute it through your own distribution channel. So
it's an interesting one.
They found a way to hopefully get back some of the money.
How about stage work? Coming off of what happened?
Oh yeah. That was
you. Congratulations. That was an awesome.
Oh, I just want to say a huge thank you to the public for coming out and for supporting the show. I got really good feedback, and I think
it was solid. It's funny.
It's good. The writing was there, and you guys, the actors all stepped up. So yeah, really happy with the theater, and that's what we do as a country. Once a year, not every year, but once a year, we have a desire to go to the theater. So I'm glad to fill in that gap.
I would like to see Aunt Claw be featured in the next What Happened. That's my only.
Who is this?
Aunt Claw. That's our own.
This is Susan?
I would love to see Aunt Claw featured in the next What Happened.
She gonna have to audition. We're gonna set up auditions. So this year the bar is gonna be set so high, but I think she might be able to impress us.
I tell you, the comedy that she brings to the table.
Yeah, no, she understands. She understands time. It's timing. It's a sensibility and awareness of the room. It's the space. It's a lot of dead space. If you know where to put the spaces, that it's like music. You know where
if you know where
the silence between the notes. Yeah. What was the value of playing all the notes if you're just going to play them in sequence? It doesn't make a melody. No. So it's about timing.
So we're gonna get at What Happened too?
Yeah. Why not?
All right. This year. I gotta ask.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the hard questions.
We'll do it.
All right, so we can be on the spot.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. I think I speak for everyone who's show, because I saw the show and I thought it was brilliant.
Well, I mean, the question is, do we make it local or do we make it broad? Because if I can take these actors, suppose I wrote a script that could connect with the U.S. audience, so Saturday Night Live or Mad TV, but done through a Caribbean lens, that I could take the show, let's say in a grand sense, off Broadway, right? And I could expose these actors to a bigger production and get a huge audience. Now I have to ask myself, do they want to hear about Makiba? That is the question. Does this audience have a connection to obviously not.
Is the joke going to be
Yeah. So do they want to hear about our Caymanian stories? Probably not. So I would have to write through a wider perspective, or I could do, what we all want is to see you bash somebody in the head in Cayman. So, but that's what we find entertaining.
It's at the end of the day, I think the public's gonna be quite happy with whichever direction you go with What Happened.
Okay.
I as someone who saw it and someone who really truly enjoyed it, I can't wait for the next one to come.
Good.
Maybe
I give you a front. Maybe you can be a critic. You'll come to our opening night and give us a fair and honest review. And that's what we need. We need critics. We need real feedback.
Yeah, real feedback.
Yeah.
Because you want to improve it. Your goal is to improve.
Everything came out as good. It can't all be good, guys. That's a good song, Bob. That's a great song.
It can't all
be good, guys. Somebody's lying to you. I tell you.
Oh, man. Matt Brown, It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
It's a fun way to spend the last part of the show, and
I
truly enjoy it. On that note, let's call it a wrap for today's show. Thank you again to all of our loyal listeners out there in Radio Cayman Nation. Our guests, Mr. James Miles, Mr. Carl Brown, and of course, Mr. Matt Brown himself. On behalf of the entire Radio Cayman family, have a very happy Wednesday. I'm Raymond Singh, and God bless.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman